Today we are going to talk about my experience doing my masters. Guys, in secondary school, Hi guys, welcome back to this channel. If you're new here, karibu sana. On this channel we talk about everything fashion, travel and lifestyle. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do so. Tell your friends about this channel. And I also create content on Instagram, so feel free to follow me over there. I post my experiences on a daily basis, so join the community. If you've been coming to this channel again and again, I really appreciate you. I appreciate your support. And let's get into today's video. So I would love to share a few things that I've learned in this journey of doing my masters, as I also juggle my work. So first of all, I need to mention this. When you see someone doing their masters and they're also working, please respect those people, because it takes a lot to just do that. It's not easy. You have to spend your time wisely to do your assignment, to do your paper. Sometimes you might miss out on things that your friends are doing because you're unable to go because you're doing your school stuff. The other thing I've learned through my journey is when you're doing your classes, I'm sure for most courses, you will have units around qualitative and quantitative methods. Please listen to what those lecturers are saying and take your notes and ask as many questions as possible, because when it comes to writing your paper, that's when most people give up on their masters, because it takes a long time. The feedback you get from your lecturers can be frustrating, and if you do not love reading, just don't even think about doing your masters, my friend. It's not going to be easy. So for me, what worked best, when we were doing the units on qualitative and quantitative methods, I started thinking about the topic of my thesis. And so every time we would have like presentations in those classes, I would present about my actual paper and get feedback that is useful to my paper. So when I started doing my thesis, things got a bit easier because I had a proper understanding from the days where we did our coursework. So for masters, chances that you will do your first year, you will just do the coursework, and then second year you will now be on your own, just with your lecturers and your paper. No one is supervising you closely. It's you to decide the timelines on when you want to submit your paper or when you want to work on certain things. And with masters, you just have to be very resilient. I'm telling you, like when you're doing your thesis, the feedback you get can crush you if you're not careful, or if you're not willing to put in the work. Like for me, at the moment, I have 2 supervisors who look at my work. So every time I make changes, they have to look at my paper, give me more feedback, and then you present your paper to a panel, and then the panel also gives you feedback that you need to put in your paper. It's a whole process. So just be cognizant that it will take a lot of time, but at the end of it all, it will pay off. The other thing that I've learned in this journey is don't rush yourself. I think most people, when they join their masters, they are usually like, oh, I'm doing this because I want to get the paper when I graduate, the certificate. I need to call it a certificate because it's not easy. When you get your certificate, you will get a better paying job, you will get more opportunities. My friend, don't come with those expectations to your masters when you're doing it. I feel like it's okay to give yourself grace and time to just work on your paper, because sometimes you rush doing things. I've heard of people asking other people to write for them their papers. My friend, it's not worth it. I just feel like I've been in that place where I've considered people writing my paper, but it's not worth it. Just do your paper, read, do the research. At the end of the day, you get the skill. It's about getting the skill and not completing school. So just extend grace to yourself, work on your paper slowly. Eventually you will finish. And I know for some people, you've seen people spend a long time doing their masters, even 5 years, even more. But then with writing your paper, you have to be very intentional. You have to create time when you will write. You have to take in feedback well, because if you remain in that funk of, oh my god, these lecturers are just pissing me off, these things are difficult, why can't they see what I'm doing, you will not move forward. So just be accommodating and be willing to learn. Eventually things will work out. I haven't finished my masters yet, but I'm learning day in, day out that it's okay for it to take time, because I'm learning a new skill and that skill will help me eventually. There is no rush to graduating. Anyway, I know so many people who are in great jobs and they do not even have masters. So it's up to you. I also had someone who was saying that when you get to like 40 years, no one asks you about what you did in your masters and all that. But for me, I choose to do my masters, and I might even do a PhD. Why? Because I want to tell people, I'm well educated. Like, that's the only reason that is keeping me going. Also, when you're doing your masters and you're also working, it's important to have that conversation with your supervisor and check your work policies if they allow for time off to do your studies. Some organizations will give you maybe up to 5 days for exams or for studying. Some organizations will give you time off to do your paper. Just ask or check the policies of the organization, because if you do not have separate time to do the schoolwork, it becomes tricky. And also, you do not want to use your leave days on school stuff, because for most people, leave days are between 20 to 30 days. You can imagine you're tired from your work stuff, and then instead of taking time to rest, you're working on your paper. It can be overwhelming. So read your policies, ask your supervisors if they can give you time off to just work on the things that you need to work on. That will really come in handy. Also, seek help from people. Don't tell people to write your paper, but ask people to help you clarify things that you do not understand. Go to your lecturers as many times as possible. Check out the people who have done their masters, who ask them how they navigated certain things. Ask them about softwares that work for them. Some will teach you about softwares like Mendeley that help you with referencing. Some will tell you, use this app and this app, it will help you. Some will teach you how to use Google Scholar. Just seek information from other people. That will really come in handy when you're doing your paper. Also, ask your friends or your partners or people who have done masters that to read your paper before you submit to your lecturer. I know sometimes you are like, oh my god, I do not want anyone to read this paper, but it will save you a lot of time, because they will point out the mistakes before you take to your lecturer. And that way, even when the lecturer comes back to you, you don't feel very frustrated from the feedback that they've shared with you. And again, I just want to say that it's hard balancing work and your masters. So extend grace to yourself and just know that you will graduate eventually. The thing is, you have to put in the work. Even if it's just writing one paragraph or one sentence a day, do that, especially for your paper, because on some days you'll be in flow and you'll have things to write about, you will get the right papers to reference, but on some days your flows don't even your thoughts don't even flow, so you are just frustrated. But give yourself grace, take it a day at a time, write your one sentence, close your laptop, go hang out with friends, and come back to your paper, and you will eventually figure it out. Also, if you're doing your masters, it doesn't mean that now you just do away with your social life. That's not the case. Be very intentional about how you want to spend your time on weekends, meet your friends. Some people usually lose friends when they're doing their masters, but I feel like you should also have a circle of friends who understand where you're at, why you might not be able to hang out at certain times. And also you have to be intentional about showing up for your friends, because you don't want to graduate and then you don't have friends. It doesn't make sense. With life, you have to just create a balance. It might not be an equal balance, but just try and work on everything. Work on your relationship, work on your family, work on your paper, work on your work. That's what adulting is about. The other thing that I've learned is there's no shortcuts with your masters. So put in the work, get the skill. I think for me, at first I was in a rush to graduate, but right now I'm like, okay, the more time I spend on my paper, the more I enjoy writing it, the more I understand broadly about what it takes to write a paper, the more I respect the people who have graduated and written really good papers that have been published. And I feel like because I'm taking time to learn this skill, maybe in the future, who knows, I might want to write papers or support other people who are in their master's journey to just do their thing. Who knows? So learn the skill. That will come in handy. Also, try and have a good rapport with your supervisors. Of course, supervisors have different personality. You have different personality. There's a way you love to be corrected or given feedback, and maybe the lecturer is not using that way to give you feedback. You have to be resilient and create a rapport that will work for you. If it's catching up with your lecturers, if it's asking them questions, that way you will be able to find it bearable to continue to do your paper. Also, when you're being given feedback with your lecturers or your friends or people who are supporting you, the best thing is usually to record whatever they're telling you. So you can just use your phone to record, and then, because sometimes you might not even take in all the feedback. Like, yes, you will listen to it, but because you're not typing at that time, you might need to go back to what was being said, and that will guide you to write your paper. So record, and then as you're making the changes on your paper, you just listen to what that person told you, and you put down the information. Same to referencing. When you come across an interesting paper, put them in a folder, because sometimes you're like, oh, I'll just remember that paper and I'll look for it. For you to write a proper paper, you have to reference around 40 different papers that have been written by different authors. So before you get to the 40 that you're thinking of referencing, you will have read more than 40, and you will not remember all these papers. So note down your references and just put them in a folder. That way you won't have to spend a lot of time going back to search. It's a whole frustrating process. I have been there, and learn from me. Lastly, with masters, cry if you want. Cry as much as you want when you get feedback and you feel frustrated. All these are feelings that you will have when you're doing your paper. So it's okay to cry, it's okay to rant, it's okay to to not want to talk about your paper with anyone. It's okay to stop writing for 3 months and come back after 3 months to write your paper. But go through all those emotions and remind yourself that it's a journey and eventually you will finish. So in as much as I've said all these things, I'm still in that journey. I still extend grace to myself. I really hope I'll graduate soon. I can't wait to finish my paper. I'm excited about that. And I'm excited to see how the skill that I gained from this whole process will help me in my life. Basically, for me right now, I just want to learn more about writing research papers. And who knows? I might become a consultant someday and use that skill to help me somewhere. So yeah, that's all I wanted to share about my master's journey and how I've been able to balance work and doing my school stuff. But I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you're doing your master's, I'm sending you all the love. You need it. And if you're thinking about doing your master's, go for it. It's a good challenge for yourself. You trust yourself more. You get to learn about yourself. So if you're considering that, this is your sign. Anyway, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for being here. Please remember to subscribe and follow me on Instagram. I really appreciate you, and see you on the next one. Bye.